We'll be ranking the best and worst machine guns and Helldivers 2. For comparison, we have HMG, Stalwart, Minigun, Machine Gun, and the double-edged sickle. The goal is to see how they perform on all factions without having to use too many other stratagems. So I'm using EMS strike and not a machine gun sentry, for example. I'm also not playing in a group in many cases because that is a cop-out excuse for how weapons are actually good, just have your teammates carry you. Anywho, we'll begin with the double-edged sickle. Infinite ammunition, scaling from light penetration to heavy pen, with durable damage going from 5 to 7 and damage itself going from 60 to 50 to 70. Extremely good recoil, absolutely atrocious spread. It's 20 horizontal and 20 vertical. You'll be missing shots you didn't actually miss yourself because the game said, we don't care where you're aiming. The decal builds heat as you shoot it, eventually burning you and lighting on fire at the higher levels. Bring fire resist armor, preferably heavy, vitality booster, and take a supply backpack. And to prevent getting lit on fire, lay down, or be constantly diving to put out the fire if you have to move. These are things to do to make it a lot better if you plan on using the heavy pin especially. Jumping through all those hoops is worth it. You have an S2 weapon for Illuminate that is just simply good or great against everything they have to offer currently. Voteless, you're handing out handicap placards at a rate that most guns can't comprehend, legging them left and right, destroying hordes upon hordes. They can throw as many as they want. You don't have to reload. The only thing you really need to worry about is your HP and your stim count. It handles stingrays great if you already have medium to heavy pin. Meat bombs get taken out. They do require some time investment, but that's the case for most guns that don't do a crazy amount of damage. And you can decimate the Snitch Bot 9000. Time to kill is good on harvesters if you have medium pin already and can lay down to hit your shots. Otherwise, results may vary given the spread and moving with sway. And on overseers, if they're somewhat close, it's very good. If they're too close, it's bad though. The no body cam baton dude, that gets really sketchy really quick because you don't have crazy double damage, so you don't kill them as fast as you may think. But if they're medium range, that's the sweet spot, and you take them out very fast. You will have a lot of shots going into their arm, which will increase your time to kill, but still, it's good. It's just awesome against this faction. I legit didn't have to use support weapons. I just brought the double-edged sickle, a supply backpack, and had a merry day. If I were to actually use other stratagems, it becomes even better as an overall kit, if you will. But by itself, it was putting in work. Let me tell you. Against the bots, it is S tier for sure if you have the mod to reduce the visual clutter for heat sparks. Without it, it depends on your preference, I suppose. But this thing freaking mows down hulks once you have a heavy pin, which is very easy to get to if you're shooting the chaff units as well. Billy Bobs, the troopers, smoked. Devastators, go for the eyes. I wouldn't go for the legs because those got increased double damage, I'm pretty sure, or increased double HP. And you take out rocket striders and scout striders to the jondals once you have medium pin. The enemies you're not going to be that good at would be tanks, even when hitting them from the back, because your durable damage is extremely low. You can kill them though, so use that to your advantage against the barrager tank when you're hitting just the top of it, because that's just medium pin required. And faction striders, war striders. Not ideal versus those fellas. Even the chinny guns on faction striders might be an arduous task for you to overcome. So ignore those if you can. Just bring other stuff in this case. It does do a great job against so many other things. I was using it and got around 600 kills primarily with double-edged sickle. I think my rocket sentry got maybe on the highest end 100 kills. So I was sitting there mowing dudes. I wish it would tell you where your kills came from. This would solve so many issues in the community. Like everyone's saying that everything's amazing. You could just prove it. On the bugs, it is B tier. It puts in work, but you don't get much value from the heavy pin considering how durably tanky a lot of the larger enemies are. Charger behemoths had their legs essentially buffed to be tankier. That's going to affect this weapon heavily. They also recently buffed Hive Guard durable HP and Warrior durable HP. Again, making this weapon a bit less enticing considering it's doing 7 durable damage a shot. Then factor in the inability to probably kill a impaler fast enough before it one-taps you with tentacles. And laying down to hit those shots in the first place, not great. You'll essentially be taking more damage because you have to be more mobile against a faction that does so much damage that you're missing any HP at all. That could be a death sentence. Wilbur, the small orange bug, does a ton of damage for what he is. And that's one of the weakest enemies in the game. he's hitting you for dang near half your HP. In heavy armor, probably around a third of your HP if he headshots you. Next, we have the M1000 Maxi Gun. 80 damage, 18 durable damage, medium pen, 1500 RPM, 10-10 spread, with around 20 recoil, and 750 round capacity. The cool thing is, when you get ammo for it, it doesn't have to be reloaded. It can just be fired instantly. Downside is, ammo boxes give you 200 rounds, resupplies from a supply backpack give you 400, and a resupply from a dropped-in call-in give you full ammo, I believe, with the ship module. For Illuminate, it is B tier. Is this guy trying to say that the double-edged sickle is a better minigun than a minigun? Holy smokes, he's out of his gourd. I did the exact same mission versus Illuminate using double-edged sickle and the minigun just couldn't keep up. The lack of ammunition was extremely noticeable, and not being able to dodge away from things was ridiculously brutal. Because when you're shooting that weapon, you can't dodge even when you're done shooting it. Locks you in animation for no reason. They can remove that. It's just a matter of if they want to, and hopefully they do. It's fun to kill harvesters, meat bobs, overseers, stingrays, voteless with a minigun. That's a great time. Sitting still like a dent sucks. The visual blur on the weapon, the smoke that comes out of the barrel, making it really hard to see in first person, really sucks. Now, I got mods to remove those, thankfully, if I'm on PC. It's a blast over here. For reference, we have smoke, visual blur, and muzzle flash. Then we have no visual blur. And finally, we'll have no smoke or visual blur, which is much nicer. You can essentially mitigate some of these annoyances from the game. But there's just far too many detrimental factors on the minigun to also have such low ammunition. For the automatons, it is C tier. You can kill every bot, but you'll be sitting there saying, I need more bullets. The issue is the inability to move and the lack of ammunition. Those two things are just unacceptable. There should be a slow walk or something. Like, there should be some give and take here. And I'm telling you, the ammo, you're just a parasite. If you're playing in an actual group, you're going to be having to hog that resupply consistently, or really hope someone has a supply pack and wants to use it on you. And for what? For the person using the minigun to be essentially worse than everyone else. I could bring the double-edged sickle and a supply pack and get 10 times more value than a minigun player who's going to be sitting there begging his teammates to help him kill Hulks unless he uses thermites. I think there needs to be a little bit more brainstorming happening here. I forgot to mention, minigun has 4 ergonomics, meaning you'll probably want to wear peak physique for increased ergo, so your reticle goes where you're actually aiming faster and you don't miss as many shots, or just kill things quicker. Essentially being the same as the double-edged sickle and requiring an armor to make the gun better. Against the bugs, it will be terrible once they fix Alpha Commanders spawning Alpha Warriors, which doesn't happen much in a group, so folks have no idea just how insane that is. And when you're playing on difficulties higher than 7. Because what's going to happen is the bugs will burrow beneath the ground and under your feet, you can't move, so it's pretty much a guaranteed hit for roughly half your HP in the worst cases, which the worst case happens more often than you think. And the lack of ammunition is atrocious. I brought my own resupply backpack with my minigun, dropped it for a teammate twice in 2 different instances, and asked them to resupply me. It took about 2 minutes or so to get that resupply. But hey, teamwork, am I right? Just have your teammates resupply you for, again, 2 resupplies, equaling all your ammo being full, and you don't have that much to start with. This weapon is absolutely parasitic. It doesn't encourage good team play. It's a weight for your teammates that didn't even ask for it. Next, we have the Stalwart. 90 damage, 22 ballistic, light penetration, recoil around 15, spread is 6x6, and the ergo is 40. That's really good ergo, all things considered, so you don't have to wear peak physique on the squids. It's a light pin gun, GG. It is S tier. Yes, everything's S tier. This feels amazing on the Illuminate. One-shotting Voteless legs from distance now. The drag is a factor, but it shouldn't really affect you much at all. And you shred through meat bobs, given the weak spot change they have. You can kill 3 in 1 mag if you're playing your cards right. It is phenomenal at handling overseers, which sometimes can be a hassle and a half considering they reproduce like rabbits. You need a way to kill them, otherwise a single flying overseer can one-burst you in less than a second. Doesn't happen too often, thankfully, but it can happen. And even killing the bombardiers from range, that is a priority. If you sit still for too long, one of those guys feels as though there's an army of Spartans raining arrows upon you. Now, you can't take down stingrays, and you can kill harvesters. It will just take a year and a day, so I wouldn't recommend it. And that's where a double freedom comes in handy, a primary weapon. It's not the stalwart doing its entire job, sure. It's so good at everything it does that it doesn't have to do everything. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at. Like, not everything has to be the best at killing all enemies. It just has to be really good at certain aspects, preferably a couple of aspects, to get a high rating. Against the automatons, it is D tier. If you're playing on a city mission, probably a bit higher because you have a lot more of the small troopers, Billy Bobs. But when going for headshots on Devastators, the scope is really not good, and third-person aiming ain't the greatest. If it had the scope in the preview material for the stratagem on the ship, which is a 2x, I believe, or a 4x, we'd be working with something. You could get more shots, it'd be a lot more fun to use. But instead, you have a reflex sight, a red dot. Not as enticing for being a marksman, which is what that faction pretty much encourages, especially on a light pen weapon. Now, you can kill all the chaff on higher difficulties. Rocket Striders exist, sure, but it's not particularly that much fun. If we get a mission that spams you with troopers, I believe it would be a lot more enjoyable as well. Versus the bugs, it is roughly B tier. The rating for this faction changes drastically based on what you're facing. Bile Spewers wouldn't be ideal. You can kill them quickly with a new weak spot. It's still not going to be great. If you get a bunch of hive guards, which will happen on higher difficulties at every nest, light pin sucks. You can kill them, it's just not very good when there's 10 hive guards, which will be a common occurrence. If you somehow got a hunter seed with very little hive guards and alpha commanders, it would be freaking sick. Those don't really exist anymore, like they used to. So it's lower rating than it used to be for that reason. And then we have the HMG. 150 damage, 35 durable, heavy pen, recoil scales from 32.5 horizontal to 55 vertical, 5.5 spread, 0 ergonomics, and 100 round capacity with a stationary reload, which is actually pretty quick, but it still exists, and that can be a brutal thing to experience against the horde-ish factions. Speaking of which, up first we have Illuminate, where it's D tier. The heavy pin doesn't serve a purpose, the low ammunition will be felt, stationary reload against Voteless doesn't feel very good, it doesn't do anything remotely commendable or impressive for what it essentially is. And given the other options, they're just simply way too good compared to this. Now, on the automatons, I think it's A tier. You can kill Hulks to the visor. You can one-shot Devastators, and if you're using peak physique, which I do because of the low ergonomics, it essentially turns into a marksman rifle with 100 rounds and heavy pen. I sold an entire mission versus D10 bots, not using any sentries or damaging stratagems, and my goal is to actually fight them. I didn't run away if I didn't have to. It was actually really fun. But again, if you're expecting the machine gun playstyle, HMG versus the bots doesn't really offer that. On the bugs, it is D tier. The durable damage is extremely low, so heavy pin won't get anywhere near as much effectiveness as it should, and the low bullet count will be kind of annoying with stationary reload. Just doesn't really serve too much of a useful purpose. Can you kill the small chaff enemies? Of course, but there's other guns that do that better, and it won't be anywhere near as much of a detriment against the larger enemies. I've sat there and killed 4 Bile Titans when using other stratagems, and it still takes a hefty investment. Let's say you bring rocket pods and you weaken them, because that's what their whole goal is, to weaken enemies. You do that, and you're still investing a grip of bullets. And then you factor in the lack of spare magazines as well on top of all those other issues. At last, we have machine gun. 90 damage, 23 durable, medium pin, roughly 20 recoil, 4x4 spread, 15 ergonomics, 175 ammunition, 20 stagger force, and a stationary reload, which will be a recurring problem as we continue. For the Illuminate, it's D tier. You don't do anything that amazing to have the detrimental factors of ergonomics being that low and the inability to move while reloading against a horde faction. That genuinely sucks. The Stalwart does dang near the exact same things, but feels better to shoot, and it's just light pen. That's the only thing you're trading off. That's not a huge deal versus the Illuminate in this case. You also got the stagger force, which means when you shoot overseers that are, you shoot them in general, you'll be staggering them, making yourself miss more shots, which means more ammo being wasted. It's only useful if you have a baton overseer up close and personal, about to beat the brakes off you, no body cam turned on. That's nice. Outside of that, it's going to be a net negative because the flying overseers and the bombardier dudes just take longer to kill now. But it's the automatons. It is the worst thing imaginable, considering the stagger again. When you shoot a devastator one time in the face, they don't die. You don't have enough damage to kill them that way. So then the follow-up shots won't hit the face because they flinched. You don't make it so they don't shoot you. They just flinch a little bit and maybe miss a couple of shots themselves. And that's a maybe. It's not a guarantee. So you're going to for sure miss your shots. They might. And they shoot a lot more than you do unless you're trying to waste all your ammo and reload like a dent. And they also, I believe, recently buffed the durable HP on all Devastators, but for sure Berserkers. So if you don't go for the face, you'd have a longer time to kill. Not a huge fan. Versus the bugs, it is D tier, only because of the stationary reload. That just makes no sense. If it wasn't for that, you have pretty good stagger force that's great against a very close range faction, which was previously a detriment on the Illuminate in most cases. Here, it's nice. And the damage is not too shabby, I suppose. I don't know if the recent buffs to durable HP on warriors and hive guards affects its time to kill. Maybe if you don't go for full-on headshots, which if you're running away from bugs and shooting, you'll be missing more shots than you should, so that might affect it. In any case, it just can't be a stationary reload on this gun. It simply can't exist. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't have any semblance of meaning. It doesn't have any semblance of a reason to exist in the first place. Never has. And as the game progresses, I hope people can recognize that. Because the moment Alpha Warriors start working in a 4-man group, which it's actually broken into 2-man as well. It's all dependent on the host being close to the Alpha Commanders to spawn in the first place, to spawn the Warriors. The moment that starts working, I believe folks will start to riot in the streets at these really lackluster and annoying factors, such as standing still to shoot or standing still to reload on weapons that just don't need that stuff. We'll see. Time will tell. Now that's my list, and initially that's my list for all the factions. Initially, I was going to make a video saying that the minigun is the worst machine gun. Turns out I think machine gun's actually going to take that spot. But I do believe that every machine gun has factors that can be improved, not because they have to be super OP, but some of them just don't need to be there. Like 20/20 spread on the double-edged sickle. Are we being so for real right now? Get that out of here swiftly. And stationary reloads on the machine gun and even probably HMG. I think it's extra. I think that the game is progressing in a way in which those simply need to go. Because they just don't have a place. They don't serve a purpose. It's not like a skillful thing. It's just a nuisance. In the same way we used to have 50% increased cooldowns as a modifier. That was a nuisance. It wasn't skillful. This is that, but just for our support weapons in this case. And because of the old weapons having whack detriments, new ones are being justified in having a ton of them. The minigun's got 7 or 8 ridiculous factors when you look at all of them combined that serve to only make the game worse for players. Stationary shooting, horrible ammunition, muzzle flash being rather crazy, the visual blur when shooting, the muzzle smoke, and the insane recoil. So that's 6. I guess the low RPM is one thing, and the low durable damage. Look, it's just, I feel as though fun is not being focused on. They're honestly looking more into how they can make weapons have these negative drawbacks before they focus on anything else. I am not saying or implying you can't win missions using these weapons, even the ones that are in F tier. I'm simply saying they are not as fun as they could be or as effective as they should be. That is what this list is about, because winning a mission in Helldivers 2 requires next to no effort, and in a 4-man group, it is very easy. And that's exactly why folks think certain guns are way better than they actually are, because they get carried. That's the video game. wow, guys, these guns are so good. Meanwhile, they're not using the guns. There are plenty of videos in which folks say, this gun's amazing, and they fired it maybe 10 times the entire mission. I really hope Arrowhead gives us a kill counter that essentially shows you where all your kills came from. That would help so freaking much. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of noise. Anyway, that's the video. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, be sure to subscribe to the OhDough. And as always, have a good day. Almost got both. Dang it.